that is now reflected in a record-setting number of arrests and placed in detention facilities for immigrant families, legal advocates, and communities nationwide. This number is not just a statistic, it represents a profound shift in how immigration enforcement is being carried out in early 2026. In this video, we will take a deeper look at the breaking news surrounding ICE's record-high detainee population, how detention levels reach this point, what the crackdown looks like on the ground, who is most affected by these arrests, and what this moment means for immigrants' families and the broader U.S. immigration system. For the first time since the agency was created, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is detaining roughly 73,000 individuals at one time. This figure represents a dramatic increase compared to previous years and reflects a sustained rise that accelerated through late 2025 and into January 2026. Internal Department of Homeland Security data reported by multiple major news outlets confirms that detention levels have climbed steadily as enforcement operations have expanded nationwide. What makes this surge especially significant is not just the number itself, but the speed at which it has grown. Only a year ago, ICE's detainee population was tens of thousands lower. Since then, arrests have increased, detention contracts have expanded, and new facilities including county jails and temporary sites have been brought into use to accommodate the growing population. In some cases, military bases have also been used as temporary holding locations, underscoring the scale of the expansion. The makeup of the detainee population tells an important story. Federal data indicates that roughly 2/3 of those currently detained are single adults, while the remainder includes family units, meaning parents detained with children. ICE has stated that a portion of detainees have criminal convictions or pending criminal charges. However, a significant and growing share of those in custody are individuals held solely for civil immigration violations, not criminal offenses. This distinction matters. Immigration detention is a civil process, not a criminal one. Being detained does not mean someone has been convicted of a crime. Many detainees are asylum seekers, long-time residents with families in the United States, or individuals who may still be eligible for legal relief. The expansion of detention to include more non-criminal cases signals a broader enforcement posture that goes beyond earlier priority-based approaches. So, how did detention levels reach this point? Several factors are converging at once. Enforcement directives issued in late 2025 expanded arrest authority and reduced the emphasis on narrow priority categories. At the same time, additional funding approved by Congress increased IC's capacity to detain more individuals. With more beds available, enforcement operations were able to scale up rapidly, leading to higher arrest numbers and longer detention stays. Another contributing factor is the immigration court backlog. Immigration courts are currently handling millions of pending cases, and hearings can be scheduled months or even years out. Detention is often justified as a way to ensure people appear for hearings or are available for removal. But, when courts are backlogged, detention periods can stretch longer, increasing the average daily detainee count even if arrest rates remain steady. Legal advocates have raised serious concerns about what this means for due process. Detention makes it far harder for individuals to access attorneys, gather evidence, and prepare their cases. Unlike criminal court, immigrants in removal proceedings are not guaranteed government-appointed counsel. As detention numbers rise, so does the number of people navigating complex legal proceedings without representation. Oversight and transparency have also become a major issue. As detention facilities expand, questions about conditions, medical care, and access to family members have intensified. Recent court rulings have pushed back against attempts to limit visits by lawmakers and independent monitors, reinforcing the principle that detention facilities must remain open to oversight. Judges have emphasized that transparency is essential when the government deprives individuals of their liberty, even in civil proceedings. The human impact of the detention surge is being felt far beyond the facilities themselves. Families are suddenly separated, employers lose workers without warning, children are left without caregivers. For many households, a single detention can trigger financial instability, housing insecurity, and long-term emotional trauma. community organizations report increased demand for emergency assistance, legal referrals, and mental health support as enforcement actions intensify. At the same time, reports of deaths in custody have drawn renewed attention to detention conditions. Investigations by journalists and advocacy groups have highlighted cases where medical care was delayed or disputed. Federal officials maintain that standards are followed and the deaths are thoroughly reviewed, but the rise in detainee numbers has amplified scrutiny and calls for independent investigations. This enforcement surge is also unfolding against a broader political backdrop. Immigration has once again become a central issue in national policy debates, and enforcement-heavy approaches reflect philosophies that emphasize deterrence and control. While administrations change and policies evolve, the practical result on the ground right now is a system that is detaining more people more aggressively than at any other point in ICE's history. For immigrants and families watching these developments, it's important to understand what detention does and does not change. Being detained does not erase legal rights. Individuals in immigration custody can still apply for asylum, request bond hearings, seek cancellation of removal, or pursue other forms of relief if eligible. However, detention makes every step of that process harder, slower, and more stressful. Attorneys emphasize that preparation and rapid response are critical in this environment. Knowing your rights, having emergency contacts, and understanding how to locate someone in immigration custody can make a significant difference. Community groups also urge families to keep important documents accessible and to have plans in place in case of sudden detention. Looking ahead, policymakers and courts will be closely watching whether detention levels continue to rise or begin to stabilize. A population of 73,000 detainees raises serious questions about cost, capacity, humanitarian standards, and long-term effectiveness. Detention is expensive, resource-intensive, and deeply disruptive, and the current numbers suggest the system is operating at an unprecedented scale. For now, this record-high detainee population stands as one of the clearest indicators of how dramatically U.S. immigration enforcement has shifted in early 2026. It is a moment that will likely shape legal challenges, policy debates, and community responses for months to come.